Hello everyone and welcome back to Project Ozone Reloaded Titan Mode. This is episode 38. I am in the deep dark. I'm going to start this episode with a little bit of a tour of different dimensions and things that have been going on in them, and then probably just move on to mostly questing. This is going to be there's an important quest that gets finished in this one, very important, but this is mostly going to be just sort of a questing episode with a little bit of review at the beginning of it because I don't have like a particular build that I want to do today. So let's get started here. First of all, this is the deep dark like I mentioned before, and I've got this massive hole here that I've mined out, and it's kind of messy still because I never was able to get the Ender Quarry to really pick up all the lava. And I have come down here and cleaned up some of it. I've essentially removed water with buckets and gone and run the quarry over it a couple more times in an area. And I sort of decided in the end it's really not worth cleaning all this stuff up. I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time in the deep dark, so I don't have to worry about any lag from all these flowing liquids. It will just not be chunk loaded. And so that's what's going to go on in that. But there is one other thing that I did need to do in the deep dark. Let me see if I can find where that cave is. It's right over here. And that is, I needed to operate for the Simple Achievements book, the digital miner, in the deep dark. And that has been done at this point. So let's see, where is the Simple Achievements book? I probably put it away. I should have a spare copy of the book sitting around somewhere. I don't see it at this time. Maybe if I... There it is. Okay. So if I come in here, one of the things that's in here is, let's see, use digital miner to dig ores in the deep dark. That is done. This is actually already run to completion. I did run it at a, let's just stop there and reset. I did run it as a radius 32, so if I were to go and dig a shaft straight down, which I'm not going to do right now just because it would take a lot of time, but if I were, I shouldn't find very many, if any, ores down below because it's all been replaced with just replacement materials. I didn't tell it to dig out every last conceivable material it could have, but it did actually run to completion. It got about 30,000 blocks in that particular arrangement. But I need this elsewhere for a different purpose, and so I'm going to take and pick it up and move on to the next dimension where we'll talk about a couple other things. Okay, you may recognize this as Slider's Labyrinth. This is where I killed the Slider. This is the very room where the Slider was camped out. Let's go outside this room and see what we can see. Okay, so yeah, the entire dungeon has been completely excavated. The only blocks that are still left are these that say Divine Carved Stone, and the border blocks, which are Blood Moss Holy Stone. Those cannot be excavated. So this actually finishes another one of the simple achievements, which is to, I don't know where it is, mine out an ether dungeon entirely, except for unmineable blocks or blocks you shouldn't mine at all. So that's done. This ether dungeon is completely mined out except for unbreakable blocks. What I actually found in this is really, I mean, if you look around here, it's surprisingly small compared to how it feels if you're running around here trying to find a boss. If you're trying to find a boss and you just can't find it, this thing seems like a huge maze. But in fact, it's not all that big. I suppose, conceivably, you might actually be able to completely mine it out before you killed anything. I'm not sure how good that approach would be, but it might work, and it would sure make the bosses easy to find. Now, one issue that I did have in here, it was oil spawn. The Buildcraft oil spawning can actually spawn oil in here, and I'm trying to see, it looked like there was maybe some oil on top of the ceiling somewhere at one point, but I don't see it. Nonetheless, there were 2 or 3 pools of oil in here, and I had to make a pump and pump it all up to remove it, to make sure that I got every last block out from underneath the oil. What I found was that the Buildcraft pump is not enabled in this mod pack. That is sort of what I would have preferred to use to pump it up, because you can put it anywhere on the blob of liquid and it will follow the liquid wherever. I did end up using the extra utilities endothermic pump, which in a lot of mod packs only works in the nether, but in this one it is configured to work anywhere, and it will pick up oil as well as the lava that it's more commonly used for. And so I used it to go ahead and pick up all the oil in here. So this one is done, and we're done in here. Let's see what else there is. Okay, this is the Aroma Mining Age, whatever it's called. There's nothing actually to show in here except that this is where I'm going to go ahead and put the digital miner. Let me just go ahead and plop this digital miner down here, and I'm going to configure it a little bit differently this time. I'm going to delete that and that and that and that. And let's see what this one says. It's just replacing grass with stone, and that's actually what I want. Let me hook a chest up here, and let's see, I want to get some stone in there and a decent supply of it, so I'll just get some iron ingots here. Probably won't need a huge amount of it here, but I'm going to spread those iron ingots out so it will just consume them one at a time. Okay. And we'll hook up some power to it. So power goes there. Items come out the back. I'll just take and route them over to that tesseract. This tesseract is already configured for ore processing, so it will send the ore there, and it can obtain power from there as well. So I'm going to insert there. I don't think I'll need to extract there because I think it auto ejects, or it should be set up to, and it will auto eject into that type of conduit, I believe. So that's really about where I want it. What I'm going to be doing with the digital miner in here is I want to build a base in this particular dimension, but I don't want to take and use this to mine it out, because this machine has a few disadvantages. Now, I showed in the last episode some of the nice advantages of it. It's very flexible on filtering and that sort of thing. However, disadvantages are that it's a power hog and it doesn't pick up liquids. So I really want to use the this quarry over here, the Ender Quarry, to mine out this dimension. But I want to be able to tell where I've already mined, and that one's really bad in this dimension because you can't really tell where you've already mined, because it will just leave grass on the surface that looks just like the grass that was there to begin with. Well, I'm going to use this one to just mine out the grass on the surface and replace it with stone. Then I can come back over and mine out the areas, replacing them back with grass like I've done around the gateway here, so I can tell everywhere that I've mined. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time mining out this whole dimension or trying to do anything like that, but I do want to mine out all the areas where I'm going to be constructing a base, because I do plan on constructing a fairly extensive base in this dimension in the general vicinity of the gate. I'll probably move some villagers over here, I'll move some animal husbandry over here, and I will move, I've got to set up thermal evaporation plants for mechanism advanced ore processing. I won't be doing a whole lot with the advanced ore processing. You can produce EMC in much more flexible ways and get, really, it defeats the whole point of having the advanced ore processing to do that. But I do want to at least set it up just so that I can show that I've set it up in this episode, and you can sort of, or in this series, and you can see it. and what's involved in it, because it is very complex, but it will allow you to quintuple ores. And it's potentially useful if you're playing some other mod pack that does not have the same sort of, well, it doesn't have Project E. So I'm going to set that up. Let's just fire this thing up and make sure that it works. It should be picking up grass and sending it out, and that is what I see. It's got about 4,000 blocks to mine, and we can see over here where it's gradually mining that stuff out. And it is going to overlap just a tiny bit, which is fine. So when this is done, I'll have a large area of stone. Now, another disadvantage of this quarry is it's going to stop as soon as I leave the area because this quarry does not chunk load. Oh well. So let's go back and see what else I've got on the agenda for today. Okay, here on the outer ring, I have set up a number of Harvest Craft fruit trees, and we're about to see why. Because I'm going to go downstairs and look at what is going on in terms of questing. And one of the things that's going on is all set up here in the Dire Crafting table. This is the complete recipe for the Transmutation table. Now, I showed you in the last episode how I was making the Infinity Stars, which are the real bottleneck episode, or the real bottleneck item on this. Other than that, there's really nothing all that complicated with it. It's got some Demon Steel of the 6th magnitude. It's got these funny blocks that you'll notice they only have 9 EMC. That's because they're smelting compressed cobblestone to get them. Very cheap and simple. It's got Pocfinium large plates. These are made in the Tinker's Construct Smeltery. They don't have an EMC value, so you will have to come up with some means of making them. I just made them by hand. Really, they're not that bad. They do involve blood in making the metal. You can just smelt down rotten flesh for that. So it was really not that hard once I got the Infinity Stars. It looks more complicated than it is, but this is a crucial item, so I'm going to be very glad to have finished this, which I will do right now. Okay, so I'm just going to put it down somewhere very convenient, right there, I think. And what this allows you to do is, let's come over here and get a banana. Now, banana has 128 EMC, and we can put it in here just like that, and it has now learned the banana. So if I come over here and get, let's say, a half stack of gold ingots, I can toss them in there, and it learned gold ingots as well. So now it knows 2 yellow items, gold ingots and banana. And if I want some more bananas, I can just pull out a stack of bananas just by like shift clicking on it there. And so I've basically just converted gold into bananas. Let me put half my bananas back here. And I will just hold these other bananas for the moment. So the next item that I want to make here in the Dire Crafting table, well, first let's go into here. And I finished Kappa, or in Kappa I finished the Transmutation table. So let's go ahead and claim this. And looking in the Avaricia chapter again, the next item here is meatballs, cosmic meatballs, and really these are just made from neutrons and various types of raw meat. Now, the only one of these that does not have EMC other than the neutrons is the raw meat ingot. That's made in a meat packer using meat that comes from the slaughterhouse. And I showed you in a previous episode where I had like a whole resonant tank full of meat from running the slaughterhouse to get the pink slime. So I had plenty of it, and I've made plenty of raw meat ingots at this point. That tank actually made a few thousand of them, I think. There's a lot of them. So I actually have all of these. I made some of them using EMC, a process that will now be much easier with the Transmutation table, though obviously you could use the energy condenser to do that. So I have that recipe set up in here, and I'm ready to go ahead and make those. And I've decided to go ahead and make a couple of stacks of them, because if we look at what these are used for, and we can't do it here. But if we do, we're going to see that they're used in making this, I think it's called an infinity catalyst. Let me take a look here. You can see this is an extremely expensive item since it involves all of these singularities. But this item, in turn, is used in making infinity ingots, which I'm going to need a lot of. And each one of these appears to require, looks like 11 infinity catalysts. So this is an extremely expensive ingot, but I'm going to need plenty of meatballs in order to make it. So I'm just going to make 2 stacks of them here. And this is a shapeless Avaricia crafting table recipe, I believe. So I can probably just put these in any order. If this doesn't work, then I will rearrange it off camera and go from there. But I think it doesn't care about it as long as you've got it in there right. And you cannot shift and run over them to get them transferred up there. So sad. Okay, so cosmic meatballs, 2 stacks. They look delicious. Maybe just that nice metallic taste in your mouth when you eat them, but other than that, they look delicious. Okay, basic reward bag. Appliances. Definitely should have gone for the quarter heart. Okay. So what is next after meatballs? Well, the next one is this primeval brew, which is actually ultimate stew. And this requires a lot of different crops. There are a few things that are not crops. I mean, it's got neutrons, it's got nether star essence, glowstone, a few things like that. Most of these things have an EMC value. So especially now that I've got the transmutation table, I can make them just like I made the bananas. And in fact, bananas is one of the items in here. Let me go ahead and put the bananas in this chest that I have started collecting items for this in. It was in that spot right there. It's shapeless, but for keeping track of what I have and what I don't have, I want to go ahead and keep these in the spots they show up in the recipe. So going back over here, most things have EMC. The exceptions are things like I just pointed out, the nether star essence, the neutrons, but also none of the Natura items have EMC. So Duskberry will have to be grown using the bushes. I've already got the bushes. I went over into the nether and got them. I was able to confirm that you need to plant these on netherrack. They should not be under direct sunlight, and you can speed them up using the watering can or bone meal. Presumably you could also speed them up using sprinklers or things like what is it called? Imaginary time block or something like that. There are various things that will speed them up. What I actually found was that normally they only grow three blocks high, but if you're using bone meal, you can get them to grow to any height. You just have to keep bone mealing that top bush. I did not manage with bone meal to get them to produce any fruit, but they do produce fruit if you go and watering can them afterwards. I'm just using watering can and bone meal. No need to set up anything more elaborate or complicated than that, although that would be up to you. I did produce a half a stack of Blightberry, and you'll notice that I've got 32 of all these items. I'm planning on doing that recipe 32 times. It produces 9 of the brews, so that will actually give me 4.5 stacks of the brews. I don't expect to have to go back and make more with 4.5 stacks of them. We'll see. There are other tricks later on for getting infinity ingots than making them one at a time in the dire crafting table, and so I will definitely employ something like that. Okay, so that really takes care of the more critical stuff today. Beyond that, I want to go and look at some of these things and just sort of get some of the crafting out of the way. And I actually would like to go ahead and close out the alpha chapter. It's 95% done. There are 3 quests left. None of them are very difficult or complicated. Let's just clear them off the table and call the alpha chapter closed. So to start with, let's look at this Thermopile. It requires copper heat coil, iron heat coil, some iron and carbide ingots, a machine housing. That shouldn't be too bad. Let's go back in here, I guess. And I'll just set that up and I'll make one of those. Alright. Threw it on the ground, which was not where I wanted it. Okay. So I need the iron one, and I'm sure I don't have a recipe set up for that. So we've got that in there. I think I'll have the rest of the stuff. Don't have the machine housing. But there should be a recipe set up for it. Okay, so there's that item. Hopefully I just needed one. Alright. So that one's done. Next is the Magneticraft Refinery. I actually showed how to make this thing, the whole multi-block structure, in my video segment that I did on Pneumaticraft Plastic. Let's just quickly go through these and get the blocks that I don't have. I'm not planning on actually using the refinery at this point. But if we come over here to the refinery control, I can just come in here and there we go. Doesn't seem to have all these things. I'm going to have to make that a little bit harder way here. Oh. Alright. So now we have 2 of those. Should we have all these other things? Probably. Okay, so there's the control. Then the next item here is the refinery tank and the multi-block component. Think I might have all those. Yep. And multi-block component. Is that really what that was called? Yes. But I'm going to need more tanks. I guess I can... Sorry, just a little... Trying to figure out how to go in and make these things so that I actually get crafting credit for them, even though they're already set up in the system. And you got to go and search them. And let's see here. Still haven't gotten multi-block component. It gave me no credit whatsoever. Oh, it's a detection task. So it's going to wait until I have enough of them there, but because it's detection, I'm just going to tell it to make a bunch of them and be done with it. They do have an EMC value, so I'll just recycle them. Okay, so now I need the refinery tank. Because it's detection, I guess I can just tell it to... Well, maybe not. Okay, that should have done that. Got it all. Alright, toss that stuff away for now. I'll recycle it later. Meteorite compass, Titan, and jukebox. Okay. Last one on this chapter, I need to make a bunch more steel fences, looks like 10 of them, and a lightning rod base. Is this one a detection task? No, it's a crafting task. Okay, so steel, we need a bunch of these steel rods, I believe. And these have EMC too, so I'll just make a whole bunch of them. Okay, hopefully that's all the steel fences. It didn't give me credit for a single craft on that. Okay, that's a little aggravating. Let's go and try it in this other table, see if that makes a difference. Oh, it didn't, because there were already a bunch of steel fences in the system. And it was just plucking what was already there. Maybe it did that time? Yes. Okay. So now I need lightning rod base. Let's see. Electrum wire coils, high voltage capacitor. This is actually a little bit involved. Do I have the high voltage capacitor set up in here? I do not. But I'm going to need some of those, I think. 9 of them. Let's see if I can get them without setting up a recipe for it, because I don't think I have any real use for these things otherwise. Four, 5. I only had 5 of them before I ran out of treated wood. I do have plenty of creosote, though. Okay. Okay, so there's 9 of those. And so now I'm going to need electrum wire coils, which are lots of medium voltage wire coils around iron ingots. But I'm going to need a lot more of them than that. Let's just do this way. Again, EMC values, I'll just recycle any I don't need eventually. Alright, so hopefully that's enough of those coils. The other thing I need here is high voltage wire coils, which is high voltage, which is these around an iron ingot. And so we're getting pretty close on here now, I hope. Alright. So I need 9 of these. And what this is for is this generates electricity from, or RF actually, from lightning strikes. Obviously, it generates an enormous amount of power, but you got to be pretty lucky to get anything at all from it, unless you have something that generates lightning, I suppose. Um, I'm not pursuing it. There's no need to do that at this point. Okay, so we'll claim the reward. See what we got. Packing tape. Alright, so this chapter is now all quests complete. So we've completed one chapter totally. Epsilon would be probably the next one to do. I don't think I'm going to do that this episode because it's a little involved. I should have everything I need to do it, though. I just need to set up the light box and take some time with it. The other thing I really kind of want to do today is, well, there are two more. One of them is this Galactic Craft, and I want to go ahead and make this machine here to make circuit wafers. I did go between episodes and make some of the components for this that are a little involved. So let's take a look at that machine. This is the Circuit Fabricator. And it needs double layer capacitors, enriched alloy, redstone reception coil, and aluminum. Those components are all very straightforward. They've been worked on before. Electrosilicon is from Project Red, and it's made by smelting electrotein silicon compound, which is made by surrounding silicon with electrotein. The silicon wafer that you see there is produced by slicing up a silicon boule using a diamond saw, and this comes from smelting sandy coal, which is made by surrounding a coal block with sand. So quite a bit of drilling down to get down to how you actually make this. None of the components are very expensive. It's not a difficult item in those terms. It is a little bit involved to make it. But I do have several of them in the system now. Now this other one is the electric furnace from Magneticraft. I think I have all of these things either set up in the system or close to ready. It looks like I might still be missing the machine casing thing here, housing. So let's put that in here. So now we have the electric furnace. And I should have everything I need for this. Let's see. Missing whatever is in the center, the redstone reception coil. That should not be a problem. It is set up in the system. Right there. Okay. So now we have our circuit fabricator. And this is used to make some items that we're going to need to craft other Galactic Craft machines. So let me pull out the reward bag. The next one here is the compressor, and if we go and look at the recipe for it, it in fact involves a basic wafer. Let me see if I can make that. Actually, I've got a machine in the way here, and getting that machine out of the way will involve doing another quest. This is the cyanide reprocessor. I already told you that I was not going to be using it for reprocessing my cyanide because I can just do that by way of EMC to get the same result but not have to worry about power and water or taking up space with this machine. But I did set it up temporarily so that I can get plutonium. So I have a whole stack of plutonium in here that came from cramming 2 blocks of cyanide into this machine. This machine is hooked up here because it can get power in the back. It's just getting water in the top. This infinite water block will not see the tank in this machine. That's why there's an intermediate tank. But if I just pull the plutonium out of here and come into the book and go over to the appropriate chapter, which is still this one, I've now completed reprocessed, and I can claim the reward. Zombie generator. Interesting. Okay, so let me just put that plutonium here to learn the recipe. So now I can make more plutonium anytime I want. And I could also put in a lot of this stuff, and will between episodes. I will go and program this with a lot of stuff. Now, there is a book that we can get. It involves making an infinity ingot, I believe, but with the book we can train this table to know everything, and we'll probably do that. For the moment, let's get this out of the way. Okay. And we'll just toss this aside. And I need to get this machine back, and we'll put it here. Now, that wafer is actually a little bit complicated, and it has a lot of components in this machine. Yeah, right here, basic wafer. So it's going to need a diamond and 2 silicon, a redstone, and a redstone torch. So diamond, silicon, redstone, and a redstone torch. Let's see if that is in fact everything that it's going to demand. Okay. It says it doesn't have power, and the reason it doesn't have power, I think, is because this machine uses Galacticraft power. It may also be that it simply doesn't take power on that side. Let me see if a wrench will rotate this. I don't think it will, but it might. There we go. It did. Okay, and it does have power now. So it's running, and it's producing circuits, we hope. Alright, basic wafer. And so if we put these in here, maybe we can make the compressor now? I don't know. We'll see. It's this one. We're going to need an anvil, it looks like, and I bet I don't have that set up in the system. No. But it's pretty easy to make. Okay, there we go. Anvil. Alright, so now we have the compressor as well. And we can go ahead and accept that one. Chance cubes. Chance cubes have an EMC value, so you can make as many of them as you like. Isn't that exciting? Okay, the compressor is used to compress metal into plates. I'm not going to do that just yet, but that'll also be necessary to build future machines. I'm going to put this stuff away, and eventually I'm going to set up a location for doing Galacticraft. I kind of have an idea where I'm going to set it up, but I need to do some additional construction before I can do that. So we'll just see how that works out. Let me go back over here to the book. So we've actually made good progress, I think, in this chapter. We're getting pretty close to wrapping up the big reactors part, and we're getting started on Galacticraft. The other thing I wanted to work on was, where is it? It's further up here. Yeah, solar flux. I want to go ahead and start getting some of these panels done on a regular basis. So I do need to go ahead and maybe make at least one of these today. This is the solar panel 4. It's made essentially from previous stuff. All that stuff is in there. It does require photovoltaic cell 2, which is clay and a photovoltaic cell 1 and an induction smelter. I think I have this set up in here. Yes, I even have one in here. Let me go ahead and make 2 more of those. And we'll get 4 right here, let's see, it says here we have everything, so let's just pull that out, and that finishes this one. So I've got to get all the way up to 11 here, and then for one of the achievement book requests, I've got to go and run a bunch of them in an age that is perpetually sunlit, or in a dimension that's perpetually sunlit. I'm going to just use the Aromacraft mining age because I'm going to be setting up a base there. That will be convenient. The power for these is supposed to be transmitted using tesseracts back to the main base. So I'll probably use some other source of power in that base just to sort of follow along with that. But I think that's going to be about it for today. Good progress. Got one of the most crucial items done, the transmutation table. And between episodes, I will be working on the stew for Avaricia and some additional construction and base building type of stuff in that other dimension. So thank you for watching. I do hope that if you find the episode useful, that you will consider giving it a like or a share or subscribing to the channel. And I will see you next episode.